Hello, everybody. This is Mark Smith and Dr. Larry Taylor. We're here with the Decoding of Happenings show. I still have my cigar from the Sigmund Freud and the Carl Jung show that we did early. Larry still has his pipe. So we're going to enjoy our tobacco products while we talk about this show. Oh my goodness. You look really wise when you smoke. Yeah.
Gandalf the Grey.
There you go. We're going to talk about a fantastic new book that has come to my attention, and the book is sweeping the nation. And the book is by a woman named Glennon, Glennon Doyle. And the book is called Untamed. And it's basically written in memoir form, but I found it stunningly well written. I thought it's the best book I've read in several years. Has edge to it. I thought it was the best book I've ever read on codependency for women. And never once, I don't think, used the word codependent throughout the whole book. It used the F word quite a bit throughout the whole book, but it didn't use the word codependency. So I'm going to start out by reading a little bit about Glennon Doyle, and from Wikipedia. I'd never heard of her. Have you ever heard of her, Larry?
Yes, I have heard of her.
She was
she's
a Christian.
She's been on a lot of media, Oprah Winfrey and etc.
Nobody ever tells me anything. I find out last. I've reached out to so many people about this book, and they're like, "Yeah, I already read it."
Yeah.
Like, why do you tell me?
She's also done some TED Talks or TEDx Talks or something.
Okay. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're going to be calling us any day to do a TED Talk, Larry, don't you think?
You anyway, I'm sure. Yeah.
Seeing as how I'm a big white cat and can climb up ladders. Glennon Doyle was born March 20th, 1976. She is an American author known for her New York Times bestsellers Untamed and Love Warrior, and bestseller Carry On Warrior. So I have to say, I have another life coach in the pipeline who's up next. Her name is Angie. And when I told her about the book, she was angry with me because she had told me about Love Warrior already. And being a man, I'm not always good at listening. Either women don't tell me things and they think they have, or I'm a bad listener sometimes. I think sometimes I'm a bad listener. Not when I'm doing therapy with somebody. I'm a good listener. But most of the times I'm a man. So there's that. But I thought when I heard the title Love Warrior, I thought, okay, that sounds sort of like the stuff I used to do, the narcissistic abuse. So I sort of tuned it out. Plus, if I was going to write a book on love, I would call it The Warrior of Love. It has a ring to it, I think. But now I can't do it because she wrote Love Warrior. Anyway, I wanted to give Angie props for telling me about this great writer before, and she wanted me to give her props and point out that I ignorantly didn't pay attention to her. So this will make her happy when she sees that. She watches our shows, Larry. She says she's enjoyed getting to know you through the show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. She is also a creator of the online community Mom Mastery, and is the founder and president of Together Rising, an all-women-led nonprofit organization supporting women, families, and children in crisis. So she's born in 76. What does that make her, about 44? Is that right?
Close.
That's impressive. You're 44 and you've written 3 best-selling books, and you've started a famous community online and a Together Rising nonprofit that has raised tens of millions of dollars. That's pretty impressive. And she didn't even start writing until she was married and had children. And that's when she started to write. She's not a lifelong writer, but she's good at it. She's great at it. She was born in Burke, Virginia, raised by one sister. Doyle writes and speaks frequently about her early struggles with bulimia and addiction. In her 2013 TEDx talk, Lessons from a Mental Hospital, she discusses time spent in a mental hospital when she was a teen. She completed a bachelor's degree of art at James Madison University in 1988. In her early years, she was a member of the Sigma Kappa sorority, Delta Rho chapter. Following graduation, she became a teacher in Northern Virginia. In 2009, she began to write her blog online. So many writing careers and guru careers and life coaching careers have started by just somebody starting to write a blog, and it just catches fire. In 2013, her memoir, Carry On Warrior, was published. In 2014, Parents Magazine named Doyle and Mom Mastery the winner of its award for best all round at social media. Dang. You get voted best all round show in social media. I'm sure we were second or third or fourth or underrepresented completely.
Top 10, certainly.
10, certainly. On September of 2016, Love Warrior was selected as part of Oprah's book club. In the profile that a lady wrote for her, she said she was the world's most famous Christian mommy blogger, heroine, and role model. In April of 2020, the book Untamed was selected as part of the Reese's Book Club. She does this amazing work with Together Rising. She was married to a guy named Craig Melton, a former model. We were both former models, weren't we, back in the day? Underwear models, I believe, right? We were. Former model from 2002 to 2016. They have 3 kids, and they moved their family from Virginia to Naples, Florida. Doyle met Abby Wambach, and I knew who Abby Wambach was. Did you know who Abby Wambach was? What is wrong with people?
Olympic soccer.
Yeah. I've brought that question up with 25 people, and you're the 3rd person who knew who Abby Wambach was, including me. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they were winning the Olympics. I mean, it was pretty long ago, but it wasn't that long ago. They met on a book tour, and in November of 2016, Doyle announced that she was in a relationship with Abby Wambach, and they married May 14th, 2017. So that's a little bit about this new character, Glennon Doyle. I looked up, and she's very attractive, beautiful young lady. Larry, I don't know. I think I have number 1 and number 2 and number 3, but why don't you just start with your first quote, and then if you have anything to say about it, then do so, and If you don't, then I might have something to say about it. So what's your first? We're going to go through 50 quotes from this book. It's so good.
Is mine first one the first one you sent me?
Yep.
Blessed are those who are brave enough to make things awkward, for they wake us up and move us forward.
I like that. To me, that speaks of you're in a meeting and the boss is off point or leading things in the wrong direction, and somebody having the courage to speak up and make things awkward and uncomfortable. My daughter, my youngest daughter, who's my goodness, she's 25. How did that happen? She's pretty fierce. She reminds me of this Glennon quite a bit. I contacted her last night, and she said she hadn't read the book. She wants it for Christmas, so it'll be there Monday. I want her to read it. My daughter has a way of being authentic to herself, even if it stirs up trouble, even at work. So, you got another quote?
It's not the cruel criticism from folks who hate us that scares us away from our knowing. It's the quiet concern of those who love us.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I wrote a pointed letter recently to a group of authorities, and my wife had some what do you call it? Quiet concern.
Quiet concern.
She had some quiet concern. So, but
did you take those to heart?
No, of course not. I had already mailed it.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Always best to check with others before you drop it in the mail or hit send.
Probably true. Just not my nature. Tell you what, you read two, I'll read two. When a woman finally learns that pleasing the world is impossible, she becomes free to learn how to please herself. I think in the Christian world, especially, Larry, women are taught to be selfless, to be helpmates. I think in my wedding, when I married at age 22, I think there was a pledge to be a helpmate, and she was. But I'm not sure it was her greatest destiny to be my helpmate. So.
It's interesting. I think you're right. And certainly the word that's translated helpmate in Genesis is a rare word, and elsewhere it's used to refer to God. God describes God's self as a helpmate. So I think what it really means is that we are to help others the way God helps others.
So many churches have interpreted it that women are second-class citizens, and that the world should revolve around the man of the house.
Yeah, there's a long history of patriarchy in the church, for sure.
Yeah.
And misogyny too.
Number two, a woman who is full of herself knows and trusts herself enough to say and do what must be done. And she lets the rest burn. God, I love that.
A lot of that applies to all genders, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. I wish Glennon would write to men too, because we're people too. And every single word was directed at a woman, and 90% of what was written applied to men as well. So maybe she'll branch out and start speaking to the male gender, because I think she's a prophet. I think she's a poet. I think she's a great writer. I think she's unusually gifted with words. And I think a lot of women are going to be greatly inspired. I had a client who, actually the one who told me about the book, was a mess and sad and down and directionless under my tutelage. And then she read this book and she's been on fire ever since, in terms of direction and authenticity and hope. So there's that. Your turn.
You will never change the fact that being human is hard. So you must change your idea that it was ever supposed to be easy.
God, I love that so much, Larry.
It's true, isn't it? Yeah.
Every human goes through suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, when I've gone through my suffering, I've looked around and people, it felt like they were looking at me like I was a bit of a freakazoid, like somebody who, was suffering more than the average bear. It was just my time to suffer. But everybody's going to suffer. And what I've been trying to teach people, a lot of people try to teach people, Glennon tries to teach people, lean into it. Lean into your suffering. Don't be surprised when it comes.
Yeah, and her TED Talk discussions and lectures and such about, especially when she's talking about addictions, she speaks of addictions as being like a cape that we're trying to be superhuman, so we put on the cape of fantasy, or the cape of addiction, or whatever it is, and it's much easier to be wrapped up in the cape than to come out into the she describes it as the real world, which is messy and unpredictable.
Yeah. What I don't like about most therapy books is the message is, well, I used to suffer, but now I did such and such therapy, and now my shit don't stink no more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy as a freaking clam. I hate that.
Yeah.
In
seven steps to to whatever. Yeah.
In Glennon's work, she says, I went through a phase of alcoholism. I went through a phase of being bulimic. I went through phases of just feeling horrible. She went through phases of being promiscuous. She went through phases of not knowing who she was. And then when everything comes together and she figures out who she is and she's with the right person and it's a fairy tale, there's still pain. There's still struggles. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
real.
The truth. It's raw and real.
Mm-hmm. This next quote really fits in with that.
Okay.
What is better, uncomfortable truth or comfortable lies? Every truth is a kindness, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Every untruth is an unkindness, even if it makes others comfortable.
Yeah. That was actually a quote from a friend of hers.
Oh.
I think Elizabeth Gilbert. They're friends.
Oh.
That's a quote. I'm pretty sure it was from Elizabeth Gilbert. And
it's not designated as such here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's from that book, but so it was somebody talking to Glennon.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Say the quote again. I'm spacing out here, Larry.
What is better, uncomfortable truth or comfortable lies? Every truth is a kindness, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Every
Yeah.
untruth is an unkindness,
Yeah.
even if it makes others comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I recently had a friendship where I was spared the truth, but in sparing the truth, it actually was hurtful and damaging. I would have rather had the truth presented vulnerably and directly. It would have been much more humane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, that one, this one you already read. Okay. The only thing that was ever wrong with me was my belief that there was something wrong with me. So I like that because there used to be a stigma that if you go to a therapist, there's something wrong with you. And when they get there, sometimes a couple I'm working with or an individual, they still have a stigma that there's something wrong with them. And I tell you, you're just normal. Everybody's screwed up. You're normal. There's nothing more wrong with you than there is with anybody else in the world. So it isn't that there's nothing wrong with us. There's a lot of things wrong with all of us, but there's nothing wrong with that. That's the norm.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
And one could argue that the people coming to you for therapy are better off because they're seeking help. They're being honest and open and dealing with it rather than covering it up.
Yeah, they know their stuff, and I believe that there's less wrong with them because they're embracing the truth about themselves. I've had 3 cases in the past couple of weeks of people from other cultures, far flung from the United States. And sometimes when I tell them what's wrong with them, it's like flipping them on their head. It's like their paradigm is this, and everything they've ever known really about themselves is wrong. and I do this, and they have different reactions. One reaction is, thank you very much. What you're saying makes sense, and I get it. And I wish I'd have known that I was thinking cattywampus before. And then another reaction is, I agree with what you're saying, but I wish you wouldn't have told me because it's too much. It's too much truth. Okay, this next one. The epitome of womanhood is to lose one's self completely. That is the end goal of every patriarchal culture, because a very effective way to control women is to convince women to control themselves. My youngest daughter is going to eat this book for breakfast. Quote away. I got to light my cigar.
I wondered if joy had as much to teach me as pain did. If so, I wanted to know.
I think joy has some stuff to teach you. It's really fun, but my experience has been I've tended to learn much more. I haven't had a lot of joy to compare. So maybe as I get healthier and I experience more joy, then maybe I'll know. But I have had recent months of joy, but I think I learned more from pain than from joy. I don't know. The truest, most beautiful life never promises to be an easy one. We need to let go of that lie that it's supposed to be easy. the thing that gets me thinking and questioning most deeply is a leader who warns me to not think or question.
Yeah, when a leader tells you not to think or not to question or implies that, that should be a red flag.
I think she was referring to a conversation with a pastor she had as she was searching her soul about some things. And he just said, it's not for us to know, it's just God. You know, in that religious voice, you know, that sometimes religious people use. Your turn.
Trusting people is terrifying. Maybe if love is not a little scary and out of our control, then it is not love at all.
That is so true. If love isn't a little scary or a lot scary, you're playing it too safe. You're playing it too close to the vest. You don't have any skin in the game. It shouldn't be like jumping off a, 60-foot building, but it's got to be a little bit scary. I think for it to really give yourself to another person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were talking not too long ago about in the context of metaphors. You and I were talking about the metaphor of a train operating properly stays on the rails. It goes exactly where it's supposed to go. But life isn't like that a lot of times. Life is often more like taking a raft down a swollen river with white water, and sometimes you're spinning around, sometimes you're bumping into rocks, and you still have stuff to do. It's not that you're completely out of control. If you're a skilled rafter, you're doing some stuff with the oars, but you're still not completely in control either. You're still going to go where the current takes you.
Right. Do you have one more? Or do you want me to go?
Go ahead.
You are not here to waste your time deciding whether my life is true and beautiful enough for you. You're here to decide if your life, relationships, and world are true and beautiful enough for you. I think there's a fine line. If we're completely untamed, if every human acted on every impulse that felt liberating and fun, that isn't what Glennon is advocating. She's advocating know thyself. Have a sense of self. And if you really know yourself inside and out, you know your heart, you take that step not knowing if there's, use the analogy of Peter walking out of the boat. He didn't really walk out of the boat. He walked into the water because he didn't have enough faith. Jesus was the one walking on the water. But, if you, in this case, if Peter really knew Jesus, he would have known there'd have been firm ground even on the water. But I don't think Glennon is advocating for do what feels good. That would be hedonism, not mature sense of selfism. So I'm sure she would agree with me on that. However, somebody might look at your life and think it's hedonism. And she would say, well, fuck them. I'm pretty sure it would be the language that she might conjure up. When a woman finally learns that pleasing the world is impossible, she becomes free to learn how to please herself. I think we saw that one already. Go ahead, Larry.
Our judgment is self-protection. It's a cage we put around ourselves. We hope it will keep danger out, but it only keeps tenderness and empathy from coming in. I assume there she means judgment in the sense of negatively judging, almost condemning oneself, as opposed to judgment used in the sense of good judgment. I'm assuming that.
Right.
I don't know the context of this.
Yeah. Larry is commenting on these quotes a little bit without context. He did watch some TED Talks, but I just told him about the book yesterday, so I didn't give him much of a timetable to get the thing read. But number 18, my life, this life is mine alone. So I've stopped asking people for directions to places they've never been. That's a controversial quote, I would think, because, there's the thinking that it takes a village to raise the children. We're all interdependent. My sponsor wouldn't agree that it's my life alone. He would say he would like me to listen to him a little bit. But again, Glennon is saying she knows herself so well that she's not going to ask for opinions from people that are wrong and that are off target. I love this one. The braver I get, the luckier I get. Somebody who, I forget even who it was, but somebody who has had I don't know if it was a tremendous business or a tremendous relationship. And she said she is just lucky. And I said, no, you have what you have and luck has nothing to do with it. I think it was I think it was a guy and we were talking about his company. Luck had nothing to do with it. Bravery had a lot to do with it, and hard work and vision and trust in yourself and trust in God had a lot to do with it. I don't think luck pays in unless you win the lottery, and the chances of that are not real big. Every life is an unprecedented experiment. This life is mine alone. So go ahead.
People will like me or not, but being liked is not my one thing. She capitalizes one thing. Integrity is. I'm willing to lose anything that requires me to hide any part of myself.
All I can think is the word ballsy. And it's ironic that there's a male reference to courage. It always seems weird when a woman refers to another woman and says, dang, she has balls. But let's read that one again. That one's really powerful.
People will like me or not, but being liked is not my one thing. Integrity is. I'm willing to lose anything that requires me to hide any part of myself.
I admire that so much. That's what makes her a powerful writer is she puts integrity ahead of everything. And that's what makes a prophet. That's what, I don't know how many presidents we've had who've been that way. Maybe Abraham Lincoln comes to mind, but there hasn't been many lately that I'm aware of. So, okay, I've stopped asking people for directions to places they've never been. There's no map. We're all pioneers, pioneering our own way. I've learned that if I want to rise, I have to sink first. I have to search for and depend upon the inner voice of the voice of inner wisdom instead of voices of outward approval. She was talking about sinking into her body and paying attention to the wisdom of her body. She was thinking about ending the relationship with Abby before it really got started. And Liz Gilbert says, well, how does that feel in your body? And Glennon said, cold and icy, so so much of not being codependent. When you're not codependent, you're always in the right place at the right time with the right people for the right reasons. But if you're a people pleaser and you don't listen to your belly, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people for the wrong reason. And nobody can really tell you what's right for you because they ain't inside your belly. I'm going to read a little poetry after your next one. Read a couple more. I'm going to read a little chunk poetry that was in the book. It's one of our poems that we use in our work, but it was actually in the book as well.
I'm a human being meant to be in perpetual becoming. If I am living bravely, my entire life will become a million deaths and rebirths.
Reading poetry has been new with a lot of my clients. And if I haven't read poetry before, and it's a couple, and they're sometimes if they're from another country, and I say I want to read poetry, the wife looks at the husband like I'm a nut. They don't respond very well to it until they hear the poetry and it smokes them. And then they're like, oh, I get it now. But these are the lines that were in the book related to the one that I just shared about sinking first into the body. And it's Mary Oliver's Wild Geese. I won't read the whole thing, but she says, you do not have to be good. You do not have to be good. You do not have for 100 miles crawling through the desert repenting. You do not have to crawl for 100 miles on your knees in the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. And again, I don't believe Mary Oliver is advocating for hedonism either. She's advocating for authenticity and being true to oneself. I did not know I was supposed to feel everything. I thought I was only supposed to feel happy. You need to jump off, Larry, for a little bit?
In about 15 minutes.
Okay, let's try to wrap up in 15 minutes. The beauty industry convinces us that our thighs, frizz, hair, fingernails, lips, eyelashes, leg hair, wrinkles are repulsive and must be covered, manipulated, so we learn not to trust the bodies we live in. And that's where we men don't. The only place that happens with men is with hair. There's these hair commercials that they're like, don't lose your confidence or your hair. And I'm like, screw you. I'm as bald as a billiard cube and I know I look good. I haven't lost any confidence at all. What does hair have to do with confidence?
Yeah. Yeah. What's the old saying? God only made a few perfect heads. The rest he covered with hair.
Right. Man, you're not crazy. You're a goddamn cheetah. Her metaphor at the beginning of the book, I knew she was a brilliant writer when she used that metaphor about being a cheetah. And if she really respects somebody, she says, you're a goddamn cheetah.
Kind of like Eye of the Tiger.
Eye of the tiger. All the devil has to do to win is convince you that he's God. Read 3 or 4 real quick, Larry.
To be brave is to forsake all others, to be true to yourself. That is the vow of a confident girl. I am a human being. Oh, I read that one. Sorry. This is the most revolutionary thing a woman can do. The next precise thing, one thing at a time, without asking permission or offering explanation. Let me keep going.
Do one more and I'll jump in.
People aren't changing after all. It's just that for the first time, there's enough freedom for people to stop changing who they are.
Nice. I haven't smoked a cigar in probably 10 years. And I didn't know you have to relight them every 5 minutes if you don't keep sucking on them. Brave means living from the inside out. Brave means in every uncertain moment, turning inward, feeling for the knowing, and then speaking it out loud. Brave means living from the inside out. Brave means in every uncertain moment, turning inward, feeling for the knowing, and then speaking it out loud. If you are uncomfortable, in deep pain, angry, yearning, confused, you don't have a problem, you just have a life. It's life. What is better? You already read this one about the truth. I think some of the ones that are in the pictures are repeated. So, grief is a cocoon from which we emerge new.
That's been my experience for sure.
Grief shatters. If you let yourself shatter and then you put yourself back together piece by piece, you wake up again one day and realize that you've been completely reassembled. You're whole again and you're strong, but you are suddenly a new shape and a new size. I went through that from about 2015, and it's taken about 5 years, but I was shattered into a million pieces and I've been reassembled, and it's an improvement on the former product, I believe. I'm a lot happier, and people tell me that I'm nicer too. So go with a couple, Larry.
Not sure which ones we've missed here. I read that one. It's nearly impossible to blaze one's own path while following in someone else's footsteps. Sometimes, though, it's it's a lot easier if you're cross-country skiing to let somebody else break trail.
Right. I looked hard at my faith, my friendships, my work, my sexuality, my entire life, and asked, how much of this was my idea? Who was I before I became who the world told me I needed to be? You are not here to waste your time deciding whether my life is true and beautiful enough for you. We read this. You're here to decide if your life, relationships, and world are beautiful enough for you. Every life is an unprecedented experiment. This life is mine alone. You got any more? I've run out, Larry.
I think I have two, but I wanted to ask you what, as you step back from that book, if you just gaze at the message from 30,000 feet, what is it that resonates with you the most? What?
I am a goddamn cheetah.
And expand on that. What's that mean?
It means
you like to run down gazelle and eat them?
Yeah, hell yeah. It means you're not afraid of anything. It means you've learned to trust yourself and trust your higher power, so much so that there's a fierceness about you. And you don't give in to public pressure. You don't give in to the whiny little kid inside of you. You don't give in to your kids when they're being whiny. You don't give in to how the public views you morally. You're a goddamn cheetah. You're fearless.
Is that realistic? Can we live a fearless life, truly?
I don't think it's realistic for an entire lifetime. She certainly wasn't a cheetah her whole life, but I think that once you grow into yourself and your sense of self, even if, like, let's say you're a cheetah, you get cancer, you might be knocked off balance for a few months, but then you're going to go after your cancer like a goddamn cheetah. So I think it is realistic once you've done the work on yourself. And it just resonated with me so much because I've been through so much. But yet, when I'm truly myself, I have a fire burning in me that's unstoppable. And that's why I like the part when she says the rest of it, just let it burn. I love that.
The passion. Do you have your little tiger there?
I do. I actually was going to share. See, I'm a goddamn cheetah.
When you got close to the camera lens, it kind of looked more like a little pig.
Did it really? I thought maybe it scared people, but I guess
hold it sideways.
If it was a little pig, then
yeah, there you go. Now that's
like tiger. A cheetah, doesn't it?
Yeah, or a tiger. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I wasn't going to get another pet. I know we're running out of time, but I saw somebody have a Bengal cat, a cat that's a Bengal with stripes like a Bengal. So really? when I replace somebody else around here with a newer model, I'm thinking about getting a Bengal cat. The cats are less easy. They're easier to take care of. Read your two and we'll be done, Larry.
I thought I just did.
Oh, you did? I thought you said you had two more.
No, I think I'm out.
Okay. All right. Well, most of you probably have already got this book, heard about this book, or read this book. Read her previous book, Love Warrior, soon to be followed by my book, The Warrior of Love. I'm just going to copy what she said and change the title.
Yeah.
But I've already got a copy of it. I'm going to listen to it. When I listen to books, I listen to them twice because I missed stuff the first time around. So, well, this has been fun, Larry. I'm glad I didn't. Once I smoked a cigar from Cuba and I turned green. I was on a cruise ship and I couldn't move. It was like I had the flu. My wife was wondering where I was at because I was gone for like 3 hours. I literally couldn't stand up because the cigar was so strong. So I'm glad that didn't happen.
Were you like in a deck chair or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could not move. So, well, enjoy the book. Become a whole bunch of goddamn cheetahs, will you?
Amen.
If you haven't joined our channel yet, then do that. How you turn this off? Press this button right here.
Mm-hmm.